Previously on the High Risk Wrestling Podcast, DQ match, and everything that Sonya was saying was true about Mandy Rose. You got your job because you're good looking, you get praise because you're good looking, you're here only because you're good looking, you're not that great in the ring, you're always getting pushed over people that are more deserving, more so me. Mind you, these two are really good friends in real life. But it was the first. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. It is Saturday, August 12th, and you know what that means. It is time for the High Risk Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, and I do not quit. I am not done. Yes, it is me, Jeremy Pierce. Welcome. Want to know, as always, you know you can check me out on the socials. Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube. Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram. The 215 on Twitter. That is spelled out. And of course, coffee and Patreon. In today's show, well, we got some faction warfare. This is our second episode this year, 5th overall, little sub episode. This one, I thought it'd be special to look at some factions that had women in it, and everything's gonna kind of do with women in factions, and more so male dominant factions that had women in them. But for now, you know what's next, so just go on and hit my music. And you know now we got the list going on, so let's do this. We've got the 5 factions today, in my opinion, that could use a woman in the group. And number 5, we're going to start with the Bloodline. And if you've been watching SmackDown and watching the WWE, you know that it's going down with the Bloodline. But who should be in the Bloodline? Well, there are 2 obvious choices: Tamina and Nia Jax. Nia's not in the company, but she could always come back. They could always bring her back. And Tamina's in the company right now, not doing anything. And with everything going on with Jimmy and Jay, Tamina, who used to manage them, would do just fine. She can be another enforcer role, kind of like how Rhea Ripley's the heavy for the Judgment Day. But I would love to see Tamina in the Bloodline and really get one more good, solid run in the company. Number 4, Imperium. And this one was a little tough because I wanted to find someone that could match them in the ring. And right now, currently on the main roster, when it comes to just the technical skill and ability, it's Natalya. Natalya would be so great in Imperium. She respects the match. She respects professional wrestling. That's her. That's what she does. And it would help. She doesn't even have to go full heel. She just knows the message. Number 3 over in sticking to WWE, the New Day. Now this one is hard because you can't really just put women in the New Day just to do it. So they've got to fit. And for me, that's Katana, Chance, and Kaden Carter. The happy, fun, positive, wild side that they bring and represent would work so well in the New Day. And knowing the New Day, it wouldn't hurt them, and it would actually help ingratiate Katana and Kaden more to the fans. Number 2, the Dark Order. Now, the Dark Order's had 2 women in the group, one officially in the group and one that was associated. I'm talking about Anna Jay and Ty Conti, respectively. But seeing as how they are part of the JAS, well, maybe not anymore. There's a woman that's currently on the roster that I think would fit well with them and can bring a little different side to the Dark Order, and that's Abaddon. She's not being used. She's still under contract. It's the Dark Order. Zombie chick. It just works and writes itself. And number 1, Sticking with AEW, the Blackpool Combat Club, and there are two names that immediately come to mind that are very, very easy to think of, and that is Layla Hirsch and Serena Deeb. Now, both of these women are very, very technically sound, and they both like to fight. They both like to show their skill in the ring, and with the brutality of Jon Moxley, he's got that covered. So now if you look at the group, it's a lot of technical wrestlers. Even Claudio, for how strong he is, a technical wrestler. But you have Yuta, Claudio, and Bryan Danielson. Layla and Serena Deeb would work just perfectly in that group. But let me know what you guys think. Did I miss anybody? Did I miss a group? Who do you think should be in there? We'll be right back with our Superstar Spotlight. This Superstar Spotlight is very, very simple. It's really simple. Indi, Hartwell, Candace, LeRae. I can't stop raving about these two women, and they need to get their just due. When you have this women's tag division and you keep putting the championships on teams that are just two single wrestlers thrown together, when you have actual legitimate tag teams like Katana and Kaden, like Alba and Isla, and like Indi and Candace, why can't you see that? Why can't you see that these two women can be the face of your division along with the other two teams that I mentioned? Now with Sonya being hurt, they're going to make a decision. And I like what Chelsea is doing. But Indi and Candace are just there, ready to be used. They show that they can work together. They have a great camaraderie. They're part of a faction. They're part of a quote-unquote family. Why won't you push them? It's so annoying that these two women who have been heels, who have been faces, can do pretty much a lot of stuff in the ring. And Candace is one of the best women's wrestlers today. We know what she's capable of. Push them and put the championships on them, because this is the way. Faction warfare. What is professional wrestling without factions? It's a tale as old as time, going all the way back to, I don't know, the Four Horsemen, the Von Erichs. Factions just work in pro wrestling. And you know what? It's back to some more faction warfare. So on the last episode, let me bring that right up for you all. We had, who did we talk about in the last episode of Faction Warfare? We had the Dangerous Alliance, the Right to Censor, and sadly, Team Bella. But we're beyond that. And we got 3 new factions for you today, and these are factions that feature women, right? And you know how we do. We talk about how they came together, did they break up, what's going on now? Because one of these factions are currently, 2 of these factions are actually kind of still together. So first we have, because they apparently broke up, not even really broke up, they left their leader, the Jericho Appreciation Society, which is a sequel to the Inner Circle. So the Inner Circle was originally Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager, and the Proud and the Powerful, Santana Ortiz. Then they split up, and Sammy and Hager followed Jericho to the Jericho Appreciation Society, which includes Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, Sammy Guevara, Danny Garcia, Ty Conti, and Anna Jay. Now, we don't really need to talk about Chris Jericho. It's Chris Jericho. You can make the case that Chris Jericho is the GOAT. Jake Hager has done well for himself in his career, right? After leaving the WWE, as Jack Swagger went and did MMA, He's got himself a nice solid record and came to AEW, and he's been there pretty much from the beginning. He is who I would consider an AEW original, which again boggles my mind that he's not in Fight Forever. There's a lot of people in Fight Forever, but he's always been the heavy of the group, and I don't think he'd do well as a solo star in AEW. The roster's already bloated. People already can't get time. So he, at the end of the day, I think what's going to happen is Jericho's going to come around. Hager's going to be with Jericho. Then we have 2.0 Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, formerly Everrise in NXT. And these guys were like fun jobbers in NXT, but now they are two of the funniest, brightest spots in all of AEW, especially Matt Menard, Daddy Magic. Because you want to know what makes Daddy Magic's nipples hard? These guys have solidified themselves as a solid tag team, more so on the middle to lower end of the tag team division, but they're still respected names that if you beat them, it's like, okay, we beat a solid tag team. They, I think, would do well, fine by themselves. They can already talk on the mic. We know that they're solid in the ring. I think they'll do well, but ultimately I do think they'll end up going with Hager. These next two gentlemen, though, will be fine as solid stars. So Sammy Guevara is an AEW original. He's been with Jericho every single step of the way, except for that one subsection between the Inner Circle and the JAS when Sammy was a face and was like winning the TNT title 3-4 times. He's fine. He is considered a pillar in AEW, and that's fine. The company can be built around somebody like Sammy Guevara, who's solid in the ring. He's solid on the mic, very good in the ring. He doesn't really need any tweaking or any training. He's good. Dane Garcia, I think, for me, potentially has more potential than Sammy Guevara. Going back and forth between whether he's going to join the BCC or whether he's going to join the JAS opened up Dan Garcia out of his shell. The dancing gimmick that he's done now, hilarious, and it works. But he's also very, very technically sound, and because we know his story, he wants to be a pro wrestler, and he will fit in the JAS. He would fit in the Black Bull Combat Club. But sticking with Jericho, he decided to be a sports entertainer. And he's had some phenomenal matches. Him versus Shibata. Don't forget about the Fatal 4-Way. I believe it was Fatal 4-Way at Death Before Dishonor. Dan Garcia is great. Dan Garcia is very, very good in the ring. And I think the bright spot for him being in the JS was opening him up more. Then we have Ty Conti and Anna Jay. Ty Conti's currently pregnant, and she's had some appearances here, and she was there Wednesday, and she's an NXT cast off. And Anna Jay, who left the Dark Order to join the JAS. And these two women are fine. They're going to be fine. Ty's going to take time off, have her baby. Anna has just grown more and more and more. She just made it in Dynamite. And she's only been doing this for 4 or 5 years. The girl is absolutely beautiful. It's getting better and better in the ring. And having that rub from Mr. Brody Lee, rest in peace, helped her tremendously. And moving from the Dark Order to the JS, again, helped her more. She grew up more. But I've always said I want a battle for Anna's soul. And by that I mean the Dark Order getting their pieces back, the ones that they can get. So getting Anna from the JAS, bringing her back, getting Preston Vance from Los Ingobernables, getting him back, and getting Stu Grayson from The Righteous will work so well. And then AEW has solid tag teams, and Tay and Anna are TJ. They're one of my favorite matches. The street fight that they had on Rampage 2 years ago against the Bunny and Penelope Ford So they're going to be great. They've shown that they can get the job done. Next up, we have the Misfits in Action. Now, what do you know about the Misfits in Action? Well, the Misfits in Action, right, were a stable in WCW, and what they were the antithesis of the New Blood. So, when WCW wanted to move away from some of the older guys, they got the New Blood faction, right? And the New Blood faction was a stable. We're going to get into them a little bit later. Created by Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo. They were there to feud with the Millionaires Club and the old guard of WCW. But the thing with the Misfits in Action was that they weren't part of the New Blood. They weren't, considered to be the future. So the original grouping of the Misfits in Action consisted of Captain, or generally Hugh G. Reaction, aka Hugh Morris, who you know as Bill DeMott, G.I. Bro, who you know as Booker T, who was also a former leader of the group, Private Major Stash Van Hammer, Major Guns Tylene Buck, who was a big name in WCW at the time, Lieutenant Loco, aka Chavo Guerrero Jr., Sergeant AWOL, The Wall, and Lash LaRue. Now, this is a grouping, solid grouping. And, Bill DeMott, Booker T, Lieutenant Loco, and even Major Gun, Tylene Buck all went on to do bigger, better things, especially, obviously, Booker T and Chavo Guerrero. But this grouping was solid. It was just something that didn't work with the group, and that was making Bill DeMott the leader. Booker T should have been the leader of this group, and they probably would have gotten just more attention. You know what I mean? So their story goes with they were all fired, and then they came back and signed these new contract, and the group consisted of Hugh G. Reaction, Chavo, Lash, all the names, and then they mainly feuded with the Filthy Animals, Team Canada of WCW, not Team Canada of TNA, and the Natural Born Thrillers. Gunn feuded with Tigress of the Filthy Animals, and they did well, and they were only together for about a year. She, referring to Major Guns, turned heel and joined Team Canada, and that cost Hugh Reaction the WCW United States Championship against Lance Storm. The group disbanded in 2001, and we know the rest is history. Like, Lash LaRue really didn't do much. The Wall did okay for himself. Lieutenant Loco, Chavo Guerrero is Chavo Guerrero. We don't need to, think about him. Major Guns Tyler Buck did well. Found in a niche as she, part of that time she was, the girl of the 90s. Blonde, big boobs, blonde, all of that good stuff. Major Stash Van Hammer really didn't do much, but obviously G.I. Bro became Booker T, and we know the history of Booker T. And lastly, our last stable is a stable taken from WCW, now in the WWE, and that would be the Latino World Order. The LWO is a stable that we need because we need more representation in professional wrestling. Representation is very, very important. Led by Rey Mysterio, this faction is a combination of, remember we had Legado del Fantasma, and the thing is, when it comes to like communities, non-white communities, we always have somebody that we look up to, right? That paved the way. So for the LWO, it's Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is a living legend. He is one of the greatest of all time. And this is out of show. You gotta remember, Legado started out as a heel stable in NXT and became faces once they started feuding with the family. And they originally had Elektra Lopez in the group, not Zelina Vega. So I was always a little, wary with them being called up, with Elektra Lopez being left to NXT. How would she do? She's doing pretty well for herself. But adding Zelina Vega to the group worked for Legado because she wasn't really doing anything and she was kind of aimless. But being with that group elevated her, right? Then them coming to Rey Mysterio, like, yo, it's Rey Mysterio, Latin heritage. And they've done pretty well for themselves. The WWE definitely sees Santos Escobar as a future star. Maybe even they see him as a star now. And I think recently with Rey Mysterio taking Santos Escobar's spot and winning the United States Championship is only going to help Escobar, because it makes more sense and it's more emotional for him to win the championship from Rey, the man that he grew up watching, the man that he idolizes, his leader, La Familia, instead of defeating Austin Theory. Zelina Vega just had that crazy momentum building up to her match against Rhea Ripley at Backlash in Puerto Rico, and we got to keep using that. The only people that I need more for is Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde. SmackDown, and actually the they currently have a thriving tag team division. I can't remember the last time I seen these two tag team together. I think there might have been a tag team gauntlet on SmackDown a couple weeks ago. But these two dudes are really good in the ring and should be treated as such. The LWO needs to be the opposite of what they were in WCW. The LWO and WCW lost a lot of matches. They were like glorified jobbers, even with Eddie Guerrero leading the group. So the LWO now needs to get wins and get more momentum. I'd be fine with them actually calling up Elektra Lopez, and you have another tag team with Elektra and Zelina in the women's tag team division. Because once Rey starts falling back some, it's all Santos Escobar. It's gonna be all him, and I would love to see a day where like Escobar is maybe the U.S. champion, Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde are the tag team champions, and Zelina is either the women's champion or even a tag team champion with Elektra Lopez. That's what I want. I want to see greatness for this team. Just like we get greatness for the New Day and the Bloodline and the Judgment Day. I want greatness for them. I don't need this team to fall by the wayside. Factions are so important, and I'm glad WWE is finally learning from AEW, because AEW just has factions left and right. Some better than others, some used more than others, but we need factions. We need factions in the WWE, and I am here for it. I am very much here for it. But that is our show. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Next week, Impact Wrestling, the real Forbidden Door. Yeah, they've been doing the Forbidden Door thing for quite a while now. I'm also doing a show because I'll be going to the New Japan Impact show, Multiverse United number 2. Can't wait for that. Don't forget to check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, the 215 on Twitter, that is spelled out, Coffee, Patreon. Got those links already for you. And of course, Xia Li, Wendy Chu, Shotzi Blackheart, Bailey, Isla Dawn, Willow Nightingale, and Gigi Dolan. Holla at your boy. Peace.